San Francisco mayor announces breaking the cycle plan to address homelessness crisis. And this is the podcast of why this will fail, just like every other homelessness, mental illness, drug addiction illness plan in San Francisco and every other major big blue Democratic city has failed wildly and will continue to do so. Let's get into it. Here we go. Let me tell you, folks, there's something that absolutely drives me crazy, and that's data brokers. These companies are out there collecting your personal information, your address, phone number, email, and selling it to the highest bidder without your consent. And believe me, they're making a killing off of it. Ever wonder why you get bombarded with spam calls and texts? It's because some data broker sold your number to a marketing agency, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. These brokers are also posting your personal information, like your home address, on people search sites. That means anyone, whether it's a scammer, a nosy neighbor, or someone you'd rather avoid, they can find it. That's where Incogni steps in. Incogni doesn't just remove your data from these brokers, it keeps it off. I've used it myself, and let me tell you, it's a relief knowing my information isn't floating around online for anyone to grab. As someone who puts my opinions out there publicly, I know how important it is to protect my privacy. And honestly, it should matter to you. Incogni makes it easy, and right now, they're offering a great deal. Head to incogni.com/reasonable and use code REASONABLE for 60% off their annual plan. That's a steal to keep your private information private. Don't wait on this. Your personal data is too important to leave exposed. Again, go to incogni.com/reasonable, use the code, and take back your privacy today. Going to watch a couple of quick videos, not necessarily from San Francisco, but these are examples of homelessness with mental issues and drug issues. Here we go.
This is just into our newsroom. Seattle police arresting a 50-year-old man accused of attacking another man with a hatchet. This is video taken through the Citizen app as a spokesperson with SPD confirmed
a hatchet.
Rush to the first Hill neighborhood on Union Street around 2:40 this afternoon. Authorities say a 34-year-old victim was taken to Harborview Medical Center in serious condition, and SPD say authorities found the suspect in his 10th floor apartment, handcuffed him without a fight. After a judge approved a warrant, police say they did find the suspected weapon under a mattress. Right now, that suspect is facing first-degree assault charges.
All right. Then we move on to Kevin Dahlgren. Let's take a look at this one. Check this story out.
I'm in Seattle, Washington. I'm with Terrafald, who's filming. We're standing at a camp where a homeless man very recently was killed by a flare gun. So as you can see, there's a whole line of tents here. There's a lot of homeless. And a car drove by with a flare gun, shot it into the tent, and he burned to death. So this is the remnants, and this is unfortunately the reality of the streets. Is not everybody is happy with the people here, and we do not think the assailant was caught. But as you can see, it's all completely burned, and there's also some rest in peace signs.
Stories just go on and on and on, just on and on and on. Suspect threatens people with machete. All right.
Pete Real, authorities used time as a de-escalation tactic to allow the suspect to come out on his own without using force, and that's exactly what happened this evening shortly after 8 o'clock. Cars turned around along Northwest Nato Parkway just north of the Steel Bridge for hours Wednesday night as authorities blocked off the area for a man armed with what callers described as a machete. Officers say when they first got to the scene around 4 p.m., they approached the man and say he began swinging at them with a large blade and making threats. That's when PPB backed off and called in the crisis negotiation team and the special emergency response team to negotiate with the suspect in crisis rather than using force. Officials say the man was hiding in between these buildings in a courtyard area right where you can see these CNT members gathering as they try to convince the suspect to come out. During the standoff, some residents were told to shelter in place and lock their doors while others were evacuated.
There it is.
After 4 hours of negotiations, the man who PPB tells us is known to them surrendered, with authorities bringing out this blade.
Oh, yeah. Solid machete.
Along with CERT, CNT, and PPB, drone and canine units were also utilized, along with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office River Patrol boat. The suspect has been arrested, and we are awaiting his charges. Reporting live in Northwest Portland, I'm at Fox 12 Oregon.
Cisco's new mayor is trying to tackle the homelessness crisis in a new way. Right now, approximately 8,000 people are on the streets every single night.
The recent point-in-time count report found that 51% self-report either drug addiction or mental health challenges, and an average of 2 people die each day from overdoses.
And we have team coverage on this issue for you today. ABC 7 News reporter Leanne Melendez looks back at the decades of problems.
But let's begin with ABC 7 political reporter Monica Madden, who was at today's news conference. Monica.
Kristen, there is a lot at stake here, and it's not just the mayor's political future. This is why we're seeing Lurie roll out this ambitious year-long plan with benchmarks for breaking the cycle. But with similar action taken before, will this time be different? The mayor says a lot is focused on accountability of spending and tracking outcomes.
We will take a hard look at our funding streams and our relationships with nonprofit providers to make sure we are getting the most from the $1 billion we spend on this crisis every single year.
His new plan has 3 stages, 100 days, 6 months, and 1 year of actions to take. In the immediate term, the city will restructure its various street outreach programs to coordinate response. Officials are also going to be reconsidering previous policies of giving people supplies to stop fentanyl on the streets. Now, this does not include the clean needle exchange programs. Within the next 6 months, San Francisco will add 1,500 interim housing and treatment beds, work to improve case management for those people, and set more benchmark standards for service providers. And in 1 year, Lurie's office wants a better technological system for tracking their success through data. And he's also looking for more tools to help people become independent after they get that treatment. And that will be through economic and workforce development programs. We asked the mayor about the price tag of all of these new plans.
Will your directive and all those extra initiatives be costing more, or is some of that going to be coming from the philanthropies you're seeking donations from?
It's not a matter of resources. It's a matter of how we're spending our dollars. We're going to get more effective and efficient at how we spend those dollars. So no, this shouldn't cost us more.
This all expands on Lurie's fentanyl state of an emergency ordinance, which allows his office to bypass the typical approval process by the Board of Supervisors for leases and contracts. It also allows his office to seek donations from the private sector. The city already received a donation of $11 million from the nonprofit that Lurie founded, Tipping Point. Now, Tipping Point will help fund a family homelessness prevention project, and it's an 18-month pilot program.
I don't know about you guys, but I basically, when they start talking about, here's the reforms we're going to make to get homelessness squared away, I just basically tune out, because all of these people, mayors included, governors included, they don't have the balls. That's the bottom line. They don't have the balls to go in and do a super tough love approach, which means you got to throw some of these people in jail. People running around with machetes, running around shooting flare guns into other people's tents. I mean, you got some real lunatics out there, and they either need to be in prison or in a mental institution. And until you involuntarily put those people there, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. You can look at all the metrics you want. You can analyze the metrics all day long. But at the end of the day, nothing's going to change. If you're not willing to have a drop dead, just brutal approach to the homelessness, which is, hey, you can't be here, and these are your 3 options: prison, jail, treatment, detox, or a mental institution. That's where you need to be. Which one would you like to choose? And you can't allow them to choose, because that's just not going to work. We have spent billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars trying to figure this out. And everybody's like, oh, I don't understand. I mean, the fact that in this news story itself, they're like, we're not, maybe, I don't know, guys, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't give away the supplies used to smoke fentanyl. I mean, the fact that they're discussing that at this point in time, you think that was a good idea to begin with? These are Democrats. These are Democrat leadership that has these massive, massive problems. You do not see this in big Republican-run cities. because they don't have the compassion to string these people along until they're dead on the sidewalk. They don't allow that. It's a hard no-go. It's a no-go. They escort them to, wherever it is they need to go, but you can't stay here and do that. And the numbers, you start to look at the numbers. You look at the numbers of big Republican-run cities. You have a fraction of the homelessness that you do in a Portland, in a Seattle, in a LA, in a San Francisco. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie announced on Monday a plan he say will transform the way the city approaches homelessness and behavioral health crisis. His executive directive provides the most comprehensive plan. We got a plan, guys. We're going to move in on the plan. The executive action, called Breaking the Cycle, expands on Lurie's fentanyl ordinance. It gives his office new powers for addressing the city's drug epidemic. Board of Supervisors passed the ordinance 10-1 last month, temporarily relinquishing some of their oversight powers for the city's contracts and lease agreements related to the issues of homelessness, mental health, and drugs. So you've got a whole bunch of, partners in crime in the homeless industrial complex that have big salaries involved, big dollars involved here. They don't want to actually do something, because if they actually, reduce the numbers, then there's no need for them. There's no need for them. But build it and they will come. And they have come to San Francisco, and their people. And right now, the big issue is they're sweeping them from 16th Street to 6th Street. 16th Street to 6th Street in the market area. And, you're just playing whack-a-mole with human lives. And if you want to keep doing that and saying, we're going to break the cycle, then, you can keep playing that game. But for me, these issues will not be solved until somebody really drops the hammer and they go in and they clean out and they do not allow people to return. Okay. Jail, treatment, mental institution, and somebody comes out and assesses that person, you're going here. And, and they stick to it. Anything else is just going to fail, and not allowing people to live willy-nilly wherever. And so you've got to have resources to do that. And these big cities do not have the resources to do that. They just simply don't. They talk about, we just need more housing. Yeah, but you can't just put all these people into housing. You got to put people into treatment. You got to put people into incarceration. You need to incarcerate some of these people because they're criminals. And the ones that aren't sane enough to stand trial, you got to get them medicated. You got to do whatever. You got to get them off the streets, because they are people running around with a hatchet, people running around with a machete. I mean, it's not safe. This is not how society is supposed to operate. And yet we've allowed it to get here, and it's here. And so now you've got all of these politicians going, we've got a 1-day plan and a 1-year plan and, just a bunch of nonsense where they can say, okay, here's the metrics. We believe this is what's working. I believe our city must be judged by how we care for our most vulnerable residents. How about you look and see how many of these folks are dying? And take a hard look at that and go, they're dying of fentanyl. And yet you're still giving them stuff to smoke it? Seriously, that's what we're doing. Breaking the cycle includes immediate steps and long-term reforms that will allow us to coordinate more effectively across departments, make policies rooted in evidence, reliable data. The data and the science. We're going back to the data and the science. No, you got to drop the hammer on these folks, because they don't have the capability of making the decisions themselves. And you have to hold these people accountable in the form of make it happen. We know you can. Because, when Seattle has the All-Star game and Taylor Swift come to town, they clean things up lickety-split. The problem is they don't have the resources to keep that going long term. And all they've really done is clean up one section of town where Taylor Swift's going in, or where, baseball is being played. Same thing with San Francisco when we had, President of China or some damn thing come into town. San Francisco, clean it up. We're going to clean it up. It's going to be great. It is for like a week, right? Hey, we got the Olympics coming to LA, right? That should be entertaining. This comes as more than 8,000 people experience homelessness nightly in San Francisco because you've allowed them to live wherever, willy-nilly, no holds barred. And this is what you get. And they're human beings and you can't sweep them under the rug. They don't go quietly. This is according to 2024's point in time count. 51% of those individuals self-report behavioral health challenges. So, I mean, the other half that are still insane, well, what's that kick us up to? I mean, how often do you see an individual that's interviewed on the street that doesn't look like they've got a problem, that doesn't look like they need some help? They need some long-term help. If you can help them. So many of these people have just whacked their minds out with drugs that, there's no turning the clock back. You can't help them. Lurie's executive director is broken up into 3 stages. Yeah, I don't really care because it's going to fail. Lurie also wants a reassessment of policies for handing out drug paraphernalia, such as items used for smoking fentanyl. I mean, this is why you're in the situation you're in, because you've done everything but just basically hand them the drugs. Hand them the drugs. This does not include clean needle exchange. Oh, good Lord. Thank God for that. All right. Still giving out clean needles? All right. You guys are doing the Lord's work there, which the mayor's office says are supported by longstanding evidence-based public health interventions. Hey, just shoot up with this clean needle. Shoot that heroin into your system without the assistance of a doctor. Should be good. It should be good. That is harm reduction. All harm, no reduction. That's what that is. And this whole notion of housing first, if we can just get them into housing, the guy running around with what, the machete? Or was it the hatchet? He already had housing, right? Within 6 months, the mayor is vowing to add 1,500 interim housing and treatment beds. Okay. How many of these people just aren't going to go? Big percentage. And when they don't, what are you going to do? Oh, yeah. Oof. Yeah. Well, we need some more transparency. So we will take a hard look at our funding streams and our relationships with nonprofits. Don't really care, because at the end of the day, none of this is going to work unless you're willing to really go in. And nobody is, because we're not there yet. They're not there yet. They haven't found a solution, and I don't think they want to. I think they want this to just keep on going, because you know what? The residents, they voted for the folks in place that put these policies in position. It's the way I see it. They want this. They're okay with it. They're all right with it. But then you have to take the consequences, which is every now and then somebody's going to get whacked. Somebody's going to get, raped. Somebody's going to get, there's going to be an uproar, and we're going to really do something this time. This is the time we're going to do it. Nah, nothing's going on. Nothing's happening. Make no mistake, Mayor Lurie's directive is taking aim at some sacred cows, including harm reduction and homeless spending. What we're prioritizing, frankly, deserves scrutiny, because these are the approaches that need to be held to account for why we're not producing better outcomes. Billions and billions and billions of dollars spent. California has spent $24 billion. No, is it up to like $33 billion now, I think, in the last 5 years? And homelessness has gone up? Make that make sense. Make that make sense. What are you doing? You're enabling homelessness. That's literally what you're doing. You are enabling homelessness to continue unabated. ABC 7 News asked Lurie how these initiatives will be funded, considering his fentanyl ordinance also allows the mayor's office to solicit donations from philanthropies because he's got big bucks. He's a big buck guy, right? Big buck guy, and individuals in the private sector. Okay? Reaction to Lurie's plan. Having focus on recovery-based options, I think it's long-term and a better solution for policy director, yada, yada. It's so boring. Mothers Against Drug Addiction and Death support the city's new initiative. Will not only aim at keeping people alive, but lead them to help. I wish some of this stuff would work. It does on a very, 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 very small sample basis, right? 1 person out of 100 actually is at that low point in their life where they're like, damn it, I'm going to do something about this. And they go off on a different tangent. The vast majority die on the streets. They die, and they don't die very old. And how do we know that? Because in King County, if you're homeless, you die at age 50 something. It's basically 26 years shorter life expectancy as a homeless person in Seattle than the average population, which I believe is like 76 is the life expectancy. So we know that you're going to die. We know that these drugs are killing you. We know that being mental on drugs and a combination of the two isn't a game-winning plan for leading a fulfilling life. And we're totally ignoring the impact it has on the rest of society, who's like, good Lord, there goes the guy with the machete. There goes the guy with the hatchet. Holy cow, what's going on here? And everybody knows what the drill is. Well, you allowed a bunch of whacked out lunatics to run around and do drugs and sleep in tents on the sidewalk on your public streets. We allowed that to happen. Oh, how are we going to get out of it? Let's double down on effective solutions that based on the data and the science. A bunch of nonsense, right? We've had a hard time finding that balance in the city of San Francisco. Many people feel ideologically it's just uncomfortable to put pressure on people. But on the other hand, if you contrast that with letting them live in a tent using meth and fentanyl all day, we know that where that ends, that is not particularly compassionate either. Oh, said a Professor Humphreys. Yes, that is correct. That is not compassion. That is enabling. And that is what most of the homeless industrial complex does. They enable people to just die on the streets. I mean, how about the dude here in Seattle, the flare gun into the tent? Imagine being in your tent, just probably high as a kite, and all of a sudden, incoming, tent catches on fire and you die. You burn up in your tent. That's the reality. I mean, if we just had some more housing. Yeah, I don't think so. Now, it's going to take a much stronger figure, and in these big blue democratic cities, we don't have that. You consistently don't have that. That is why the situation is the way that it is because this misguided compassion that if we can just allow people to do what they want to do until they make that decision to get sober, doesn't happen. And as a result, podcasts like this for days. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.